The consortium's warship Valdris hung in the darkness beyond Neptune's orbit, its scanning arrays drinking in every electromagnetic whisper from the blue-green planet ahead. Commander Elsa Thornwood stood on the observation deck, her reflection ghostly against the viewport, watching Earth rotate beneath swirls of white clouds. She had seen 43 worlds catalogued for harvest. Earth would be the 44th. "Primary scans complete, Commander," reported her tactical officer, a Zenthari with scales that shimmered like oil on water. "Technological classification, level 0.7. No quantum entanglement networks, no fusion infrastructure, no orbital defense grid." Elsa nodded, her expression carefully neutral. A level 0.7 civilization, primitive by consortium standards, but advanced enough to have split the atom and begun their first fumbling steps into space. Advanced enough to be dangerous if left unchecked. Advanced enough to warrant complete resource extraction before they became a threat. "Biological survey?" she asked. 8 billion sentience, carbon-based, single-species dominance. Genetic diversity indicates recent population bottleneck, approximately 70,000 years ago. The Zenthari's data tablet glowed. Psychological profile suggests strong tribal behaviors, moderate cooperation, high aggression, standard pre-unification markers. Mineral composition. Extensive rare earth elements, significant water, molten iron core suitable for industrial processing. Estimated resource value, 473 trillion credits. 473 trillion. Elsa felt the number settle in her chest like a stone, enough to fund the consortium's expansion for a decade, enough to solidify her promotion to Fleet Admiral, enough to justify the silence of 44 worlds. "Commence the identification protocol," she said quietly. Kiven Chen was 3 hours into his shift at the Arecibo Observatory, or what remained of it after the 2020 collapse and subsequent rebuild, when every screen in the facility simultaneously went white. Not blank, white, as in emitting light bright enough that he had to shield his eyes. "What the hell?" his colleague Maria stumbled back from her workstation. "Is this some kind of malware?" But it wasn't just the screens. Kiven's phone blazed white in his pocket. Through the windows he could see the parking lot lights doing the same, and the headlights of every car, and his blood went cold. The sky. The entire sky had turned white, from horizon to horizon, as if someone had replaced the atmosphere with a fluorescent bulb. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, the white faded to reveal a message. Not on the screens, in the sky itself, burning in letters that must have been visible from anywhere on Earth's surface, written in every language simultaneously through some technology Kiven's mind refused to process. "Attention SENTINTS of planet SHX 443, local designation, Earth. You have been identified as target 44 for resource extraction. Consortium Harvest PROTOCOLS will commence in 72 hours. Your compliance will minimize suffering. Resistance is inadvisable." Kiven stood frozen, his scientific mind trying desperately to find a rational explanation, even as the more primal parts of his brain screamed warnings his ancestors had learned on the savannah. Then Maria did something unexpected. She laughed. "Oh, this is good," she said, pulling out her phone. "This is really good. Some hacker collective just pulled off the greatest prank in human history. The rendering is incredible." "Maria," Kiven's voice came out strangled, "look at the radio telescopes." Because every dish in the facility, all 18 of them, had turned to point at exactly the same spot in the sky. And they were moving, tracking something, their motors whining with the strain of motion they hadn't been commanded to make. "They're not under our control," Kiven whispered. "Maria, nothing here is under our control anymore." Elsa watched Earth's response on the tactical display, every major city erupting into chaos, military assets mobilizing, Communication networks overloading, panic spreading like a virus through their primitive data infrastructure. Standard response for a level 0.7 civilization. She'd seen it before. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission," her communications officer reported. "Origin point, planet surface, it's directed at us specifically. They shouldn't even know our exact location." Elsa frowned. "How is that possible? We're running full stealth protocols." "Unknown, Commander, but the transmission is tight beam, coded with mathematical constants. They're using the hydrogen line frequency as a carrier. Whoever sent this understands basic universal communication principles." "Put it through." What appeared on her screen made Elsa lean forward. A human face, male, young, with dark hair and eyes that held more calculation than fear. Behind him, she could see primitive computing equipment and what appeared to be radio telescope facilities. "My name is Kiven Chen," the human said in his native English, which her translator rendered instantly. "I'm a radio astronomer at Arecibo Observatory. I'm transmitting this on a calculated trajectory to the most likely position of your ship based on the angle of your sky message projection and the estimated power requirements to generate such a display. If you're receiving this, then my math was correct, and we can talk." Elsa felt something she hadn't experienced in years: surprise. "I have a message for whoever is in command of your vessel," Kiven continued. "And I need you to listen very carefully, because I'm about to save both our civilizations from making a catastrophic mistake." Despite herself, Elsa gestured for the channel to remain open. "You've identified Earth as a target for resource extraction," Kiven said. "You've calculated our technological level, our population, our resources. You've probably done this to 43 other worlds before us. Your message designation of Target 44 makes that clear. You've industrialized genocide." Elsa's jaw tightened. "But here's what you don't know," Kiven said, and his expression changed to something that made Elsa's tactical instincts flare. "You don't know why we're still at level 0.7. You don't know why a species that developed agriculture 12,000 years ago hasn't achieved quantum networking or fusion infrastructure yet. You've assumed we're slow, primitive, easy prey." He leaned closer to his camera. "We're not slow, we're careful. Because unlike you, we remember what happens when a civilization advances too quickly. We remember the warnings." "Commander, I'm detecting energy signatures from Earth's surface," her sensor officer called out. "Multiple locations. The readings they're impossible. I'm seeing quantum fluctuations consistent with stabilized wormhole apertures." Elsa's blood went cold. 75,000 years ago, Kiven continued, human population crashed to less than 10,000 individuals. Your biological survey detected that bottleneck. What it didn't detect was the cause. We weren't nearly wiped out by climate or disease or natural disaster. On Elsa's tactical display, 37 points on Earth's surface began to glow. "We were nearly wiped out because our ancestors found something, opened something left behind by whoever came before, the ones who built the warning systems, the ones who tried to prevent exactly what you're about to do. Commander, those quantum signatures, they're growing. Whatever technology they're activating, it predates anything in consortium records." Kiven's image smiled, and it wasn't a friendly expression. "For 75,000 years, we've lived under a quarantine that we chose. We kept ourselves primitive deliberately, maintaining just enough technology to survive, but never enough to draw attention. Never enough to trigger the automated defense systems our ancestors barely escaped. But you found us anyway," Kiven continued. "You identified us. You broadcasted your intentions across our entire planet, and in doing so, you didn't just threaten humanity." The 37 points on Earth's surface erupted simultaneously. Elsa watched in horror as the readings scrolled across her screens. Quantum tunneling events, massive energy displacements, and emerging from each location. "You triggered the Guardians," Kevin said softly. They looked like geometric impossibilities given form, structures that hurt to perceive because they existed in more dimensions than Elsa's eyes were built to process. 37 entities, each one larger than the Valdris, rising from locations scattered across Earth's surface. "These are automated defense systems," Kevin explained, "left by a civilization that fell billions of years ago. They seeded the galaxy with them, placed them on planets capable of supporting sentient life. When my ancestors accidentally activated them, 75,000 years ago, these things nearly sterilized Earth. We survived only by learning to hide, to stay beneath their detection threshold." Elsa's hands moved across her command console, already issuing retreat protocols. "That threshold," Kevin said, "is level 1 technology, quantum entanglement, fusion infrastructure, orbital defense grids, everything you have, Commander." "But you're level 0.7, Elsa heard herself say, broadcasting back to Earth. "How did we trigger them?" "You didn't. I did." Kevin's expression was grim. "I activated 3 old nuclear power plants we'd kept in cold storage, combined their output with every radio telescope on Earth, generated a signal powerful enough to be classified as level 1 technology for exactly 47 seconds. "You drew them to yourself," Elsa whispered. "I drew them to you," Kevin corrected. "The Guardians don't think, they don't negotiate. They just execute their programming, detect level 1 or higher technology, eliminate it, sterilize the area to prevent recurrence. Your ship is a beacon to them. Your existence violates their core directive." On the tactical display, all 37 entities oriented toward the Valdris. "You have a choice, Commander," Kevin said. "You can stay and fight automated defense systems built by a civilization so advanced that their leftovers have kept humanity cowering in the dark for 75 millennia. You can watch your ship, your crew, and possibly your entire fleet get systematically dismantled by weapons that make your technology look like stone axes." Elsa watched the entities accelerate toward her position, their movement defying physics she'd studied her entire life. "Or," Kevin continued, "you can run. Broadcast to every consortium ship, every harvested world, every fleet in your empire. Earth is off limits. Not because we're strong, but because we're the bait in a trap set by ghosts. We're the canary in the coal mine, and we've chosen to stay here, living beneath the notice of things you cannot comprehend, because it's the only way to survive." "Commander, we need to jump now," her tactical officer urged. "Those entities will intercept us in 90 seconds. Elsa looked at the image of Kevin Chen, this primitive human from a primitive world, who had just weaponized his entire species' trauma as a deterrent. "If you ever come back," Kevin said, "if you ever target Earth again, I'll activate them again. And next time I'll make sure they follow you home." Elsa slammed her hand down on the retreat command. The Valdris's quantum drive screamed to life, tearing a hole in space-time. Through the viewport, Elsa watched the 37 entities converge on their former position, reality warping around them like water around stones. As her ship tumbled through higher dimensions, fleeing at speeds that would bankrupt their fuel reserves, Elsa composed her report to Consortium High Command. "Planet SHX 443 reclassified. Quarantine Zone Alpha Priority. Do not approach. Do not engage. Automated Guardian SYSTMS active." She attached every sensor reading, every tactical scan, every terrifying second of footage showing those impossible entities moving with purpose that transcended physics. And then, because she was honest in ways that had prevented her promotion before, she added a final note. "Humanity is not imprisoned on Earth. They are the WARDNS. We are the ONES who nearly walked into the cell." 3 days later, Kevin sat in an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council, explaining for the 40th time why he'd risked triggering the Guardians. "They'll come back," the Chinese ambassador insisted. "Maybe not today, but eventually. Your gambit bought us time, but at what cost?" Kevin pulled up the telemetry data on the main screen. It showed the Valdris's escape trajectory, tracked by every telescope on Earth until it vanished beyond their detection range. 43 civilizations, Kevin said quietly, harvested, extinct, before they found us. The consortium has been doing this for centuries, maybe millennia. They have a formula, a process, a system. They're efficient. He highlighted a section of the data. But now they know there are things in this galaxy older and more dangerous than they are. They know that some planets aren't prizes. They're warnings. They know that level 0.7 civilizations might be primitive not because they're stupid, but because they're scared. And when they stop being scared, the ambassador pressed. Kevin looked at the faces around him. Representatives of every major nation, every political ideology, every human culture that had clawed its way up from those 10,000 survivors 75 millennia ago. "Then we'll have bigger problems than the consortium," he admitted. "The Guardians don't sleep. They don't forget. And they're waiting for us the same way they've been waiting since our ancestors first woke them. The only question is whether we stay in our cage voluntarily or force them to lock it for us." The room fell silent. Finally, the UN Secretary-General spoke. "Dr. Chen, on behalf of Earth, I want to thank you for saving our species. And I want to ask you, how long can we stay hidden?" Kevin thought of the calculations he'd run 1,000 times, the models that kept him awake at night. Best case, another 1,000 years if we're careful, if we resist the temptation to reach for the stars, if we remember that the universe isn't empty, it's full of graveyards. He pulled up one final image, a surveillance photo of the Valdris, taken during its panicked retreat. "But the consortium will tell others. The story will spread. And every advanced civilization in the galaxy will know about Earth, the planet you don't touch, because something worse is watching." Kevin smiled grimly. "We're not just survivors anymore. We're a legend. The humans who turned their own prison into a fortress, their own curse into a shield. We scared a galactic empire with our ghosts. And that," he said, closing his laptop, "might be the most dangerous thing we've ever accomplished." Epilogue. 200 light-years away, the Consortium High Command received Elsa's report. They read it 3 times. Then they sent a single order to every fleet, every colony, every harvesting operation in explored space. Sector containing planet SHX 443, avoid, mark all CHARTS. Humanity's designation updated, the WARDNS. No further contact authorized. Earth was removed from the target list. But in the depths of space, in communications between civilizations that had never heard of humans, a new story began to spread. There is a blue world in a yellow star system, where a primitive species guards something ancient and terrible. They sacrificed their future to protect the galaxy from horrors we cannot imagine. They are savages who rejected the stars to keep us safe from what sleeps beneath them. Avoid the wardens. Avoid Earth. Some prisons exist for a reason. And in observatories across Earth, Kevin Chen and thousands of others like him kept watch over the 37 sites, monitoring the dormant guardians, maintaining the careful balance between extinction and evolution. Waiting. Always waiting. For the day when humanity would finally have to choose between the cage and the stars. The end.